If you're waking up 2, 3, maybe 4 times a night just to use the bathroom, I want you to really listen to what I'm about to say, because it might change the way you think about this completely. Most people believe this is simply a bladder problem, something wrong down there, maybe just age, maybe just something you have to live with now. But here's what almost nobody tells you. For a huge number of people, the real cause of those nighttime bathroom trips isn't happening at night at all. It's happening earlier, during the day, in small, ordinary moments you probably don't even think twice about. That coffee you had after lunch. The way you sit for hours in your favorite chair. Even something as simple as when you take your blood pressure medication. These little daytime choices quietly build up, and by the time you're lying in bed at 11, midnight, 2 in the morning, your body is simply following through on what was already set in motion hours before. Now, I do want to say up front, nighttime urination can sometimes point to something that genuinely needs medical attention, like diabetes, sleep apnea, heart or kidney problems, or in men, an enlarged prostate. I'll come back to that. But for a huge number of people, once those things have been ruled out by a doctor, the real story is much simpler than they've been told. So if you've ever lain awake staring at the ceiling after your 3rd trip to the bathroom, wondering why this keeps happening, stay with me. Because for many people, what I'm going to share today isn't about your bladder. It's about your day. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Let's start with something most people get wrong, and it's not their fault, since nobody ever explains it this way. When you think about needing to pee at night, your mind probably jumps straight to your bladder. Maybe it's gotten smaller with age or weaker. That's a natural assumption, and sometimes the bladder really is the issue. An overactive bladder, or in men, prostate changes, are genuine causes. But for a large share of people, the bladder itself is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The real issue is upstream. Here's what's actually happening. Your kidneys work around the clock, filtering fluid out of your blood and deciding how much of it becomes urine. During a healthy day, most of that fluid output happens while you're awake and moving around. Then, as evening comes, your body is supposed to slow that process down, so you can sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours without needing to get up. For a lot of people over 50, that natural slowdown doesn't happen the way it used to. When it doesn't, the body ends up producing a large share of the day's urine overnight instead of during the day. Doctors have a name for this: nocturnal polyuria. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple: too much urine production overnight. Nocturnal polyuria can be linked to underlying conditions like diabetes, heart failure, kidney disease, or sleep apnea. So if it's new, sudden, or you're also dealing with excessive thirst, swelling, snoring and gasping at night, or unexplained weight change, that's a conversation to have with your doctor, not something to just manage at home. But once those causes are checked, for a lot of people this shift comes down to everyday patterns. That shift doesn't start at bedtime. It starts hours earlier: how much fluid you drank and when, how much you moved your body, even how much salt was on your dinner plate. Think about your own day for a second. Do you get most of your exercise in the evening, or do you spend a lot of the afternoon sitting? Do you drink most of your coffee, tea, or water in the second half of the day? Patterns like these matter more than people realize. There's another piece that surprises almost everyone I talk to. When you sit for long periods during the day, whether in a chair, on the couch, or in the car, fluid can quietly pool in your lower legs. You might not even notice it. But when you finally lie down at night, gravity no longer holds that fluid in your legs. It moves back into your bloodstream, your kidneys pick it up, and they turn it into urine right when you're trying to sleep. So that swelling around your ankles by the end of the day? For many people, that's connected to nothing more serious than sitting too long. But if it's new, or only on one side, or comes with shortness of breath, that's worth mentioning to your doctor, since leg swelling can sometimes point to heart or vein issues. This is the piece so many people miss. They treat nighttime urination like a nighttime problem, when really, it's often the final result of a chain of events that started that morning. Once you start looking at your day instead of just your night, you start to see how much control you actually have. Now let's talk about a few common misunderstandings that can actually make this worse. The first has to do with cutting back on fluids. Once people realize they're waking up to pee, the instinct is often to just drink less, sometimes cutting fluids from the afternoon onward. But this usually doesn't fix the problem, and it can create a new one. Cutting fluids overall doesn't change when your body releases them, so you can end up dehydrated during the day and still waking up at night. Dehydration brings its own problems: dizziness, fatigue, even more concentrated urine that can irritate the bladder. It's not about drinking less. It's about drinking at the right times. The second misunderstanding involves salt. Most people think about salt in terms of blood pressure or heart health, and that's fair, it matters there too. But salt also directly affects how much fluid your body holds onto and when it releases it. A salty dinner, even a seemingly small one, cured meats, canned soup, restaurant leftovers, a handful of pretzels in front of the news, can quietly set you up for a rough night, hours before you ever get into bed. Then there's medication timing, and this one catches a lot of people off guard. If you take a blood pressure medication, particularly a diuretic, the time of day you take it can make a real difference. Taking it later in the afternoon or evening instead of first thing in the morning can push a lot of that fluid processing into the very hours you're trying to sleep. This isn't about whether the medication itself is right for you, and please don't change the dose or timing on your own. That's a conversation for you and your doctor or pharmacist. Picture a typical day: coffee in the morning, a fairly sedentary afternoon, dinner with a bit more salt than usual, a blood pressure pill taken after dinner just because that's become the habit. None of these choices seem like a big deal on their own. But stacked together, they quietly tell your body, hold on to fluid during the day and release it tonight. That's exactly what happens for a lot of people. Not because anything is broken, not because your bladder failed you, but because a handful of small, everyday patterns added up. That's really the heart of it. For many people, nighttime urination isn't a nighttime malfunction, it's a delayed daytime response. Once other causes are ruled out, your body isn't betraying you at 2 a.m. It's simply finishing a job that started at 2 p.m. And once you see it this way, the next question is obvious. If the day is where this starts, the day is also where you can start to change it. So let's get into what you can actually do, because some of the most effective changes here are surprisingly small. Start with fluid timing. Instead of cutting fluids, shift them. Get most of your water, coffee, and tea earlier in the day, morning through mid-afternoon, then taper down naturally in the last few hours before bed. This isn't about depriving yourself. If you're thirsty in the evening, drink. The goal is simply to stop loading up on fluids right before bedtime, when your body has the least time to process them before you lie down. Next, that afternoon sitting. If you tend to sit for long stretches, whether at a desk, in a recliner, or in the car, build in small breaks to move. It doesn't need to be a workout. Standing up every hour, a short walk around the house, even a few ankle circles while you sit. These small movements help keep fluid from pooling in your legs in the first place. Less pooling during the day means less fluid waiting to flood your system the moment you lie down. Here's a simple trick some people don't know about. In the late afternoon, try propping your legs up for 20 or 30 minutes on a footstool, a couch arm, anything that gets them slightly above heart level. This encourages that pooled fluid to move back into circulation and get processed by your kidneys while you're still awake and upright, instead of after you're lying in bed. For a lot of people, this one habit alone makes a noticeable difference. Now, about evening salt. You don't need to overhaul your whole diet, just pay closer attention to dinner, since that's the meal closest to bedtime. Watch the sneaky sources: canned soups, deli meats, frozen dinners, salty snacks in front of the TV. Swapping even one of these a few nights a week can ease the load your body has to deal with overnight. If you're on medication, especially anything affecting fluid or blood pressure, that's worth a real conversation with your doctor or pharmacist, not a change you make on your own. Simply ask, is there a better time of day for me to take this, based on when I'm having trouble at night? Many doctors are glad you asked, because timing adjustments are often an easy, safe fix that gets overlooked. One more thing: alcohol and caffeine in the evening. Both can interfere with how your body regulates fluid overnight, even if you don't feel it in the moment. You don't have to eliminate them completely, just notice if your evening habits include either one and consider shifting them earlier in the day. None of these changes require anything drastic, no special equipment, no complicated routine, just small, intentional shifts to things you're likely already doing, just at a different time. And here's the encouraging part. Because this problem builds up gradually over the course of a day, it also tends to improve gradually once you start adjusting those daytime patterns. Many people notice a real difference within just a week or two. If you try these changes for a few weeks and nothing improves, or if you're also noticing excessive thirst, unexplained weight loss, loud snoring or gasping during sleep, difficulty starting your urine stream, blood in your urine, or swelling that doesn't go away, please bring that to your doctor. Those are signs this could be something else, and they deserve a proper checkup, not just a lifestyle fix. So let's bring this all together, because I want you to walk away from this with real clarity, not just information. Waking up at night to use the bathroom isn't automatically a sign that something inside you is broken, and it's not just part of getting older that you have to silently accept. For many people, once medical causes have been checked and ruled out, it comes down to a pattern built quietly, hour by hour, throughout the day. The fluids you drink and when you drink them. How much you move or don't move. The salt on your plate at dinner. The timing of a medication you might take without a second thought. Each of these seems small on its own, but together, they can shape what happens to you at 2 in the morning. And that's the hopeful part. If this pattern is built during the day, it can be rebuilt during the day. You don't need a complicated plan, and you don't need to give anything up entirely. Just shift a few small habits. Drink earlier, move a little more in the afternoon, prop your feet up before dinner, watch the salt at your evening meal, and ask your doctor a simple question about medication timing. Small adjustments, done consistently, add up to real change. Give it a week. Give it 2. Pay attention to how your nights start to feel different, and if they don't, let your doctor help you find out why. take care of your days, and for many people, your nights will start taking care of themselves.